But after working with these men and women, picking beans, packing corn, for hours on end, side by side, in the unforgiving sun, I have to say, and I do mean this sincerely, please don't make me do this again. It is really, really hard.
Let's talk about Stephen Colbert for a second. This guy is hilarious and so incredibly quick-witted. It's no doubt that he's made waves since taking over late night. But what you probably didn't know is that comedy, specifically the way Colbert tackles it, actually makes you smarter. And if you don't believe me, well then I'll prove it to you. First off, I think it's easy to forget how influential this face right here was in taking politics and comedy and meshing them into a perfect satire soup. Maybe not soup. Curry? Gumbo. We'll go with gumbo.
Roger that, Charlie. It's a go for gumbo.
Now let me ask you, do you remember this show? No? Me neither. Well, how about now?
Welcome to the Daily Show! My name is Jon Stewart. We're back!
Chances are now you do. Well, these were both The Daily Show, a very popular US television program on Comedy Central that focused around satire in news and politics. Originally, it was hosted by Craig Kilborn from 1996 to 1998 and was centered more around pop culture and local news. But when Jon Stewart took over in 1999, a new style was developed all on its own, tackling Washington and big picture politics with a sharp tongue. The show was really smart and blew up for a reason. They did an excellent job of criticizing the absurdity in politics in a way that felt fresh, relevant, and witty. Stephen Colbert, aside from actually being a writer on The Daily Show, was also a regular on the show and played the character of a sort of ill-witted, uneducated news correspondent named Stephen Colbert. He was explained as a well-intentioned, poorly informed, high-status idiot.
Senior correspondent Stephen Colbert. He joins us now live from London. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us.
Aloha, John.
Starting in 2005, Stephen Colbert used this character, Stephen Colbert, to host The Colbert Report, a comedy news show with the same DNA as The Daily Show, but that did it a little differently. Think of The Daily Show as a kid using a magnifying glass on an anthill, looking over at the craziness of politics from a pedestal while saying, "What the fuck is going on here?" Now think of The Colbert Report as being inside of the anthill, and Stephen Colbert playing the role of an ant, doing a parody on a news anchor who was so ridiculous and exaggerative that it deconstructed what has become normal to us in the news. It actually made us look at the news differently. This is satire. Now let's define satire quickly because I think it's important. If you've seen countless of the most popular shows on TV, you've been introduced to the genre. Satire is described as a literary work holding up human vices and follies to ridicule or scorn. While The Daily Show had satirical elements to it, The Colbert Report was a full-blown satire, Stephen Colbert becoming a part of the joke, criticizing by actively diving into the extremes of the political culture.
Now, I know some of you may not trust your gut yet, but with my help, you will. The truthiness is, anyone can read the news to you. I promise to feel the news at you.
This really grabbed our attention. Instead of saying, hey, this thing here makes no sense, he shows you exactly why. This is how our so-called satire gumbo is really effective. When someone dives into the joke, it's almost a performance, a play that we're watching with wide eyes. And as we're shown rather than told, we get to make the decision for ourselves on how we feel about something, whether we think something is ridiculous or not. We come to the conclusion ourselves. Let's say your friend was talking about how boring your favorite roller coaster was, right? It's a weird example, I know, but it could happen one day. So he's saying it just wasn't that fun, he didn't like it, it was boring. Then you come in and go along with the joke, right? I know, man, so boring. shooting down the drop at 100 miles per hour, straight into 3 loops at once, and then 2 corkscrews, and then a fucking pterodactyl pops out right at you and literally spits water in your face. What a snooze fest, am I right? I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was falling asleep, right? All of this obviously with a smile. 2 things are being done here. 1, you're not clashing with his comment. You're going along with it, making him more available to listen. And 2, you're obviously proving your point. This is using satire as a means of getting your point across in a way that is tongue-in-cheek, like Colbert. It helps us learn because we are listening. There are tons of studies that show that real involvement in the classroom, getting kids to play a game rather than listening to a lecture, is a more effective learning process. And this is what we saw at the height of the Colbert Report. Colbert disguising his message in the form of comedy, in the form of a game. And we would laugh, and that would make us want to watch more, which would make us learn more and use our critical thinking skills.
But a new study says this one person on this one TV show is actually doing a better job educating you than other news organizations. Answer the Colbert Report. Researchers at the Annenberg Public Policy Center found that the Colbert Nation not only thought they knew more about something as wonky as campaign finance reform than others, they were actually right.
This is what is so great about satire, about involving yourself in the joke through a parody to prove a point. As humans, we don't like to be told or lectured. We want to be involved, we want to play, we want to have fun, anything that activates dopamine. So using comedy pleasantly is an effective way of making your point in a way that will capture attention and get people involved in what you have to say. Stephen Colbert mastered this, and we can learn a lot by watching him play.